My name is John Rollo. I am the Select Board Chair for the Town of New Haven. I've been on the board, I'm going on my 6th year on the board, my 2nd year as chair, and the Town of New Haven has been appropriated around between $400,000 and $450,000 through ARPA funds to distribute as they see needed. Well, when the ARPA money was first earmarked for us and we heard that we were getting it, there was quite a few special stipulations, special rules that came with it. We were obviously still all reeling from COVID and the aftermath of COVID, so we didn't really, it hadn't all really hit us of exactly what we needed to do. And some of the early rules were very specific to, bigger areas, not as rural areas, more cities. And they had specific rules you needed to spend the money on. Later on, basically we said, okay, great. We don't know how much money is going to come until it shows up. But we will, keep it in our hip pocket as to, what we're going to do with it. We then, finally, they ended up adjusting those rules, they were a little more lenient with what you could do with the money. It wasn't for exact, specific applications. It was broader, and it could be used for just about everything because COVID, technically, in one way or another, has pretty much affected everything. Whether directly or indirectly, it's affected it. So I think they did the right thing when they, loosened up those terms a little bit better. But initially, we all on the board kind of just took a step back and said, we have time. We're not going to rush into this, and we're going to get done what's on our plate. And then after this COVID thing we get back on our feet, we'll decide where our weaknesses are and what our town really could benefit from this money. Basically, what we did is we sent out mailers, we did emails, we did some surveys, online surveys, and we put together a questionnaire of what the town would see, what they would like to see done with the money. What we wanted to do was to try and narrow it down because once this money became available, the people came out of the woodwork. And I say people, once it was available to so many different things, so many different people came out. One thing our board did was we said, whatever we end up doing with this money as a group, we want it to directly affect obviously positively our townspeople. We weren't as willing to give money to a 5-town study or we give every year we'll give funds in the general budget to the rescue squad. And we got asked to give money towards a new ambulance. And that affects the town, there's no doubt about it, but it's not solely the Town of New Haven. This money was given to the Town of New Haven, it wasn't given to anybody else, that allotment. So we wanted it to affect our town exactly. But again, this was something new. COVID was new to everybody, it was obviously new to us, and spending this much amount of money is new to us too. We also didn't want to make any rash decisions and take our time, get feedback from the townspeople, and try and make a positive plan to spend the money. We did do a study. We gave, and I don't know exactly because I wasn't the select board member on it. Tabore Brule was on that study, but he reported back. They did do a report and reported back to the town. There was several smaller projects. We got a few people that said, hey, just put it back and lower our taxes. Okay. Well, that amount of money may help everybody in town a certain level for 1 year. But in the grand scheme of things, what will it really do in 20 years? It wouldn't do anything as far as I'm concerned. My father was on the select board for 30 years, Amos Rollo. He was on the select board, and he always taught me, and he always said while I was on the select board, I always like to make decisions that would affect my town, help my town, affect it in a positive way years down the road. And simply put, doing helping somebody's taxes for 1 year doesn't help in long term. So that was one of the things. Was our town has been looking and thinking about a new fire station. Our fire station has been in the same spot for, well, long before me. I don't know the exact, I want to say 60s or 70s it's been there. It's right adjacent to the town garage. As with all town municipalities, fire equipment is larger, more expensive, and takes up more room, along with municipality equipment such as loaders and trucks and all that stuff. It takes up more room. So the shared space, both the fire department and the town garage, are growing out of their space. And our plan was, instead of, originally we talked about building a facility big enough to house both, but then we decided that if we built a new fire station, which also serves as an emergency shelter and kind of a social meeting spot for like the pancake breakfasts that the fire department puts on, the chicken suppers that they put on, all these places, if it could encompass those three things, then we could convert the old fire station section into the town garage part. So all that would it was kind of a 3-for-1. New fire station, new emergency center, command center, and a larger public works department for our town trucks. So there was a lot going on there, and immediately it clicked in all our heads. This is something that will go for generations. This is something the town needs. This is something that somebody's going to have to pay for. And that was kind of on our radar. The second major thing, I guess, that we have discussed is the railroad station that was moved from the junction, the historic building. We secured, of course, that all happened in about a year. We had no time to really even think about it. They were literally bringing rigs over to tear it down, and they didn't care anything about it. The town got together and voted to move it. They voted to expend the energy. At this point, we got it almost fully granted from grants, the state, to move the building, pick it up where it was and move it. And it's now in its permanent home. It's on a foundation, and it's sitting there safe and sound. However, it still needs a lot of work to get it a usable town building. This is where, we did our best to commit ourselves to, look, we're going to try not to spend as little money as possible to rehab this building out of your pockets, because that was a big concern. How are you going to pay for it? Then we're going to have to maintain it. We have several options on the table as far as design and use and planned use, that A, will benefit the town, and B, will actually generate money to help pay for the building, once it's up and running and has all its infrastructure built. So right now we're kind of in a holding pattern, and the longer it sits, the longer things don't get done. And that is one thing that we've thought about. There's also been smaller projects honestly, the first money that we've spent is the little It's called an owl, and it sits on a desk, and it's for remote meetings, and it follows the people's voice for these meetings. So 10 people can sit in a circle, and it will follow you around with a camera. We spent $1,000 out of our COVID money. That's all we've spent at this point. Because, well, we needed it, and it was a good reason, and it wasn't a lot of money. But having 5 people sit down and decide how they're going to spend $400,000 of the town's money is a big responsibility, and it does not come lightly. So we are, every step of the way is being recorded. Every step of the way is we're asking permission, and you're more than welcome to speak your piece if you feel it's not a good plan. But we're doing our best. We've secured a lot for the land to place the new fire station. That is number one. Number two, we've come to an agreement verbally to buy it. We're still working out the exact facts, but to ask permission to spend that money will be on the ballot this year to move that forward. Now, I don't know if we're taking the funds out of one account and replacing it with ARPA money. I don't know how all that works. That's meant for the treasurer. But yes, it is. We didn't have this money. Now we do. This is what we want to buy with it. The reason is, and there is a reason for that. The first step is to secure the land. Once we secure the land, it opens us up for grants, and it opens us up for low interest USDA loans. It opens us up for a lot of other things. We also have a private resident who does not live in the town, but their parents lived in the town for years, that has shown interest in making a large donation. And when I say large, not $500, like quite large, okay? Large enough that their name will be so-and-so fire station. That's what I would want to see. However, they are like anyone else. They want to know, what's your plan? What's your timeline? Where are we at? We can only go so far as to say, well, we have a plan, and our timeline is for the taxpayers to vote on it. And then after we do that, then, yeah, we can secure the land. And then this is the plan for how big we want the building. And then you'll tell us how much you'll give us. And so we're trying to round up every dollar we can ahead of time without spending too much. Spend a little bit to get back a lot. And then when the dust settles, we'll know how much more we have to spend of that money. And it allows more projects to be met. Listen, we're open until the money's gone, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, every meeting, twice a month, there's time to discuss these things. We don't get a ton of people that want to discuss them. And sometimes we get them after the fact. But we're open. My door is always open. My phone's always on. And I know when I wasn't on the board, I was like, boy, I hope there's somebody on the board that's making an educated decision, that's taking the time to do this. And I hope that's what they're thinking about us. They don't have time to look at every single thing we do up there. And I appreciate that. And at the same time, I respect that you've voted for me to make a wise decision with this. But at the same time, I'm not up there just making it rain with funds. I don't think like that. You don't really have much going on the select board of a small town unless you have some big hubbub. The last big hubbub that we had was the power transmission project that was going to be coming through New Haven. We have a huge... New Haven is, if you look on a map, is smack dab in the middle of the Champlain Valley between the front and the back. That's our location. It's not a coincidence that we have a major transmission line coming through here, that we have a major substation in town. It's not a coincidence we have the railroad tracks right at the... I mean, it's been this way for 100 years. And so we are kind of a target on the map. what town can we pick? Boom. Solar was the same way. We had more solar projects in the town of New Haven than I ever seen in my life. It's because we're close to the infrastructure. That was a huge issue. The power transmission project was a huge issue. That brought people out of the woodwork. For the most part, a little town, we do some bills and we pay some stuff and Susie mows the lawn and we do some bids and away you go. But when you get these bigger projects with bigger amounts of money, with bigger tax infrastructure, consequences, you get a lot more people interested. And it seems like that's happened. I like that. Okay, I like being, I don't have to be in the middle of it and negotiating and doing all that, but I like being part of it. But I also like the town's history. I like the fact that my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather were part of the town's, my great-great-grandfather's name is on the bridge that goes between Weybridge and New Haven. He was, the Clatter Bridge, they call it. It goes over the falls in Weybridge. He was on the select board when that was built, 1918 or 1908. I can't remember what it's on, but there's a plaque with my grandfather's name on it. So I've been a part of this for, my family's been a part of this for a long time. So I won't say I like politics necessarily, but I like this style of politicking, so to speak. I like, I love problem solving. I love maybe convincing somebody that the way they thought was right was probably not exactly the way it works. When somebody calls you for anything, their road's washed out, there's a cat in a tree, there's a problem, I like to be able to help. I'm not on the fire department because I respect them immensely, though I'm not on it, just never got on it. I was actually a member of the road crew when I got out of high school. It was my first summer job. I worked for the road crew. I know everybody in town because I grew up here. So I like being a part of the town. And I like seeing how it, evolves and grows. So the bigger the project, the more you hear about it and the more people get involved. And rightfully so. I think it's great. But I do like seeing people at the town meeting and you ask them, is there any reason why you're here? No, I'm just watching. I love it. You're just watching, just seeing how it works. It's good. I like people. There's a lot of different things you can volunteer for in the town, and I like people getting involved and learning how it works. And now that it takes 2 or 3 years to catch on how all this works, like really works. And I'm still learning, obviously. I'm on my 6th year, and I'm still learning. But, again, I don't like to make it any more complicated than it needs to be because we got to keep rolling. One thing I've noticed with a lot of these is you push it off to the next meeting, push it off. Well, that's 2 more weeks, and if you miss that next week, it's a month. The next thing you know, it's June, and, we'll have to do it next year. No. Let's sit here and figure it out. Let's talk it over. Tell me why it doesn't make any sense. Tell me, I bring a lot of things up that I just don't know about, and I want to hear somebody that does know about it tell me. And so as far as what's changed, not a lot has changed. Politics get more complicated, procedures get more complicated, and hot topics get more complicated. When you have these $1 million, billion-dollar companies come in and they want to build in your town, people get nervous. And I see it twofold. I see it, yes, I absolutely agree with you, but they're going to build it somewhere. They're going to build it in this town. Maybe they're going to build it in the next town. I see it as a huge tax revenue, okay? I do want to know how it affects my kids. I grew up playing around the old substation that was here in town. I'm a little off my rocker, but I've grown up okay. So when they came and said we want to build a new, more updated, I just said, how big's the fence? How can I stay away from it? How can we protect people away from it? Well, we put it in a huge hole, built a mountain around it, and put up a giant fence. Okay. What better way to do it than that? I know they're going to build it. And I said that about the other transmission project. I said they want to build it as close as they can to that substation. There's no other substations. They want to come here. Let's, instead of protesting and telling get out of here, let's find out what they have to offer. And yes, it could affect. It's $600,000-$700,000 a year in tax revenue. I think. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. I don't know. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that we wouldn't get if we said no. And I kind of look at both sides too. And from a business standpoint, I know what they want, these big companies. I know what they want. Let's make sure it's safe, see how much they're going to pay, and, you know, see what they have to offer. We can at least give them that, and then we can decide what we want to. But the town as a whole, I don't want to decide. Town as a whole gets to decide. And they voted on that too. So it is more complicated. I would say that's the biggest change. Yes, the more public interaction, the better. Except when I'm trying to eat breakfast at the breakfast. I mean, don't tell me about your dirt road while I'm trying to eat my breakfast. That's all I ask. Come to the meeting, call me afterwards, fine.